I don't know why it is that people didn't understand that. And well, I mean, America and other countries were like blah 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 blah. The door on drugs, blah blah. I had two or three countries where like I had drug manufacturing plants basically running full tilt. All you had to do was just basically order the drugs beforehand, and they'd make up whatever you wanted. Like I said, it was in Germany. It was there's this whole country, and they've made it more public now, basically. But pretty much, there's a couple of drug manufacturing companies, basically, and I think it's in China or Singapore or someplace like that, where you can just walk through the doors and basically just be like, "Yep, here's my money." And they're like, "And what would you like?" And it's run by Chinese or some group or whatever. But basically, it's been running since 1800 or 1900. But basically, it's a drug manufacturing plant where basically I was able to buy the whole country eventually. At first, that people were trying to stop it, but I mean, it was basically feeding the mouths and everything. It's how the country had money because they produced drugs. So anyway, but there are two or three countries out there which are basically I own pretty much. Where basically I bought them. Because I bought all the land up and everything else like that. It's like okay, and now we can make drugs legally. So anyway, and then we just legalized drugs or whatever. So anyway, there's quite a few countries out there that were basically where I had a drug manufacturing company, and basically they pretty much just bought all the land and basically made drugs, and were able to make the drugs as much as they wanted. Anyway, 1950 or 1960, like some Vietnam vets were trying to take it over or some shit like that, something stupid like that. But anyway, mostly they were trying to rob it first. First they tried to rob it, and like I said, they tried to rob it, and then they broke into the building saying, "Where's the drugs? Where's the drugs?" And the scientist said, you have to order it, and then we'll make it. It takes time to make those drugs. What drugs were you looking for? And they would have happily made the drugs if the people hadn't actually shot five or six people, or the gunman outside basically got nervous and shot like the security guard or somebody like that, and ended up shooting all the researchers at the lab, and then they couldn't make the drugs. I think the drug. I don't know if the drug lab actually closed down or not, but like I said, there's two or three countries where basically drugs are legal. And eventually, the town was like, "Well, we're not gonna. There's too many crazy people. We're not gonna do that anymore." So because everyone was trying to rob them. But for years, you could just walk through a couple different companies' doors and basically get methamphetamine and whatever drugs you want from these countries. It's completely legal. It wasn't until like 1950 or 1960 when the countries were like, "We're tired of dealing with the crazies." And it wasn't so much that it was illegal. It's just that they were sick and tired of people walking in being like, "Where's the drugs? Where's the drugs? Where's the drugs?" You know, and usually one of them would end up shooting other people, or they would just shoot the people before they as they left with the drugs, where it was just too much of a headache, really. Because all these people were taking guns and just walking in trying to rob these places. So it wasn't. It's not. And drugs still aren't really illegal in these countries. It's just that they just people generally end up shooting the people. So as a drug pharmaceutical company, like you don't live very long because usually someone tries to rob you or someone tries to shoot you, and it's just like, yeah, it's too much of a headache. We don't really do that anymore. Where it's like, it's just realistically, it's people like Rodney and people like the Vietnam vets that would just get guns and like, where's the drugs? And where it just got to be too much of a headache. But the drugs are legal. I mean, you can make them, manufacture them, and usually what they make is some inferior crap drugs, basically. Like I said, 1950 poisoned a lot of people with their acid. Which was actually like some sort of like, it wasn't really LSD. It wasn't really anything. It was just like some sort of like something that actually caused brain damage as it actually affected you. So it kind of made you feel like you were high, but you weren't really high. It was actually the brain damage that was affecting your brain. And basically was really bad. Like they say, methamphetamine basically makes you want the drug even more and blah, blah. No, I mean, it does not. That's all lies. There's all these lies that go around with the drug community and everything else like that. And like I say, I mean, Lucifer Star, me, my Lucifer Star drugs, we manufactured drugs in bulk, all the way from Germany, all the way, forever, basically. Until it just got to be too much of a pain, and basically you have to have it inside of a military base pretty much, and even then, someone still always ends up shooting and robbing someone. Yep. So it's just kind of like one of those great big huge headaches where these 20-year-old kids end up going in and robbing it and killing everyone, and then, well, there goes that drug manufacturing supply. Anyway, the different varieties of what is basically, and then you have a whole bunch of other people who don't know what they're doing and don't know how to make drugs, trying to make drugs, thinking that they do know how to make drugs, and they have no clue. So, and then people take those drugs, and then they're really bad, and all that other stuff, and basically, So anyway, so eventually I think we did reopen, maybe Putin or someone eventually did reopen the drug manufacturing complexes, but basically you have to have it inside of a military base and underground or something like that and under heavy security, and even then some idiot robs it. Anyway, though, but there are several different countries around the world and several different places from China to whatever, but you always have to go through a intermediary. And he takes a little bit of a profit on top of that, and depending on which intermediary you go to, like you could only, we would only deal with so many people, because otherwise someone gets shot or he gets robbed, or and it's like the scientists and the pharmacy people, they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with the headache of basically of like, well, John was going to have the money, but John doesn't have the money, or the money's like fake or something like that, and the money's just for buying the supplies. These drug manufacturers don't even make money from the drugs themselves. They sell in bulk, basically, and that's where they get their money. Making large shipments of methamphetamine and other kinds of drugs. They'll make anything you want for them, though. So anyway, and I owned it. I own the whole country. So until someone shot whoever and did whatever. Anyway, whatever. That was like 1940 or something like that. But, it was pretty nice. Anyway, whatever.